Roadshow News Recap starts right now. Our top story this week, there's a brand new Nissan Z sports car. It's got 400 horsepower, comes with an available manual transmission, and it has some pretty sick styling. Mercedes-Benz is killing off the V8 engine for now, sort of, and we'll have all the details in just a minute on that story. Lincoln refreshed its popular Navigator SUV to make it even nicer. And Porsche teased an upcoming EV, but what could it be? I mean, seriously, I have no idea. There's so much to cover this week, and I'm glad that I am joined once again by Sean Simkowski, the Roadshow News editor. Sean, it's great to have you back.
Super pumped to be here as always. Hello, Craig. Happy Friday to all of you, or happy weekend if you're watching this after the live broadcast. Try and join us on Fridays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 or noon on the Pacific time. If you follow that schedule, you can chat with us live. If not, leave us a comment. And why don't you subscribe to Roadshow News? Because, I mean, this is pretty fun. Don't you want to be part of this party? It's a good time. So you should subscribe.
I'm already subscribed. I don't know about you, Sean.
Well, I'm subscribed too. Yeah.
Well, good. We got that out of the way. Let's talk Z. Brand new sports car, 2023 model. Nissan just showed it off this week. And perhaps the biggest story is that the number has been dropped. It's no longer 370Z, not a 350Z, 300, whatever. It's just Z.
Just a Z.
Is an interesting
number.
Change. What do you think of that, Sean?
Well, I think that it doesn't matter what number is on this car because I think it looks awesome. Number one, I think it looks stupendous. I think they did a fantastic job with the design of this car. It's just kind of like a greatest hits of all the past Z cars. There's a little bit of some of the 90s models, some of the more recent models, like the OG Nissan Z. I just think this car looks incredible. I don't care that it's on an updated platform of the 370Z, which is super old. Who cares? Like, it's like a godsend Nissan even made this car.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Because sports cars cars in general don't sell a lot these days, let alone sports cars, which are even more niche than a sedan or something. So big points to Nissan for bringing out a new Z and making it interesting. Now, yes, the car does share the same basic underpinnings as the ancient 370Z, which you just pointed out, Sean. But overall, it is about 80% new. There are some significant changes to the car. But before we dive into all that, why don't we talk about the styling? Because that is the very first thing that you see on any vehicle, and especially on the Z here, there's a lot to talk about. The first thing you'll notice, that grille, very squared off, very prominent up front, which of course is sort of a retro touch. You could say goes back probably to the 240Z from way back in the day. When you look at the profile, there's a bit of first gen Z in that as well. And then of course the taillight, Sean, which I've heard a lot of people really like. Of course, they look like the Z32 model from the 1990s, which I tend to agree that's probably the car's best angle, that rear sort of 3/4. You get those 90s inspired taillights. It's a sweet look.
Oh yeah, the rear of this car is by far the best. I don't mind the front end. I think everything looks good. The only place that, it depends on the angle where I feel like, I don't know, I get a little bit hung up on it is that big boxy grille, because at some angles it literally just looks like a square and it looks kind of strange compared to like the fast flowing lines and with everything else in the roof line, and then there's just this rectangle in your face. I haven't seen the car in person yet. You have. It may look way more cohesive in person. I don't know, but just from the photos and video I've seen, that part kind of loses me there personally. But I think just this car looks great. I even think the interior looks good, even though you can kind of tell it's a warmed over 370 interior. Like, who cares? This thing looks great.
It does. They knocked it out of the park. And there's a lot of sophistication to the design. Again, I did see it in person in New York before the reveal, the official reveal. There's a lot of sophistication to the design that you don't see in photos or video. There are a lot of little creases and details to it. There's a sort of Alfonso Albaiza, the head of design there, commented on the hood when I was chatting with him that they call it the ironing board. There's this sort of raised section on the hood. Very subtle. You can't see it in pictures, but it's there and it looks super cool in person. Also, the headlights, if you notice, they have two sort of curving rings with a gap in between. They wanted to go with a round headlight assembly, but they thought it was they described it as being too cute. It didn't fit the character of the car. So they're trying, in the design process, they were trying to figure out how they could have that sort of throwback styling cue without it looking kind of ridiculous on this modern vehicle. And then they studied one of the older cars that had those round headlights underneath another sort of cover. And they noticed that the reflection that was on the cover sort of created this little bar that ran across. So that's how they could implement that retro styling cue by interrupting it where the reflection would be. They could have that retro styling cue without it looking ridiculous on the vehicle. So that was their solution, which is kind of a cool way of doing that.
Yeah, that's super awesome. I didn't even know that, but yeah, I think that the way that LED shape occurs, it's kind of like what do you want to call it? Like I don't know, like a diagonal-ish looking circle that's being split. It's a very, very nice little element that, to that point, I think those circular LEDs would have looked like too much like a Honda E, and it gives it that, like you said, cutesy face, and I don't think that would have fit this car very well. And I'm really glad they happened to notice that with all of the hoops that they didn't know they were jumping through to get to the final product, like you just described. I mean, that's pretty great. And that's why I don't design cars and much more talented people do, because I would never even look for that.
No, that's why we write about them and don't design them or build them, because people would be screwed. Could you imagine? If we had, it would not be a good product at the end of the day.
If you are watching live, right, or if you are watching live, or if you're watching over the weekend or sometime in the future, leave us a comment. What do you think a car that Craig engineers and I designed would look like? Go ahead, take it away.
That's a very good question. But as for the 2023 Z, there are plenty of retro touches inside. You get the 3 gauges on the dashboard, which is sort of a classic Z touch. There's the one on the left, which is boost pressure. Then you've got turbo speed and then voltage. And then the steering wheel is kind of sort of retro as well, in that the airbag cover is small, which is sort of reminiscent of like a deep dish steering wheel you would get on a car from back in the day. But as you can see in the video clips here, they're offering various interior colors on the new Z, including this beautiful bright blue. It might be a little bit much for some people. I happen to love it, especially with that deep blue paint job on this particular car. Sean, do you like the blue, or is that too much?
I love the blue. I am always here for interiors that break away from gray, black, tan, and beige. I am a sucker for different colors being brought into interiors outside of like color contrast stitching. Don't get me wrong, color contrast stitching is nice, and it definitely helps break up grays and blacks, etc. But like, come on, it has been decades that we've been stuck in this like tan, beige, gray, black sea of boring vanilla. Like, yes, like put blue seats in my car. I want them.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And it's the same with like exterior colors, right? What are the top colors? Like white and silver, black, gray, pretty sedate
Yeah.
colors because that's what people,
Yeah.
the resale value, I guess, is higher. So that's what people get.
Well, I was just going to say there every year there's a paint study, and I don't remember who conducts this, if it's PPG or something like that. And I believe last year said white is becoming more and more popular, especially for electric vehicles and hybrids and stuff like that, because it invokes a sense of clean and, zero emissions. They kind of go hand in hand. And they said that like respondents felt it was attached to like technology, like a lot of old Apple products were always white and stuff like that. So there's this connection with white and clean and, future, which I guess that's what you want to do when you're putting, EVs out and stuff like that. But that's another off ramp that I'm so good at doing. We're talking about the Nissan Z.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you, white is about my least favorite color for any vehicle. White is the color of a plumber's van. It's the color that you get on a commercial vehicle because it's the cheapest color they offer. So
yeah,
not my
I'm really
favorite option.
I'm really hit or miss on white. I like white on certain cars. It really depends. I have to see it. But yeah, I tend to go more towards like a blue, or I do like black on certain cars, but it really depends on the vehicle. It depends on what the car looks like, how everything comes together, because I might like blue on one car, and then I'm like, oh, you know what? This would look great in green. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah. As for mechanicals, new turbocharged V6 engine in the Z here, 3-liter displacement, borrowed from Infiniti Red Sport 400 models. As that name suggests, you get 400 horsepower, 350 pounds of torque, and you can get it with either a 6-speed manual gearbox, hooray, or a 9-speed automatic if you've given up on life.
Ouch.
Yeah, this is a little harsh, I know.
I mean, hey, there are some people who, you know what? I've driven lots of automatic cars and manual cars, and I will give it to those people all day, every day, that if you get stuck in traffic with a stick, it sucks. So sometimes if you're living in LA or something and you want a 2023 Nissan Z and you got to daily drive it or something, maybe the automatic's good. But if this is going to be a fun car, definitely the stick. Always the stick. And I bet you that's going to be
100%.
lovely with this 3-liter turbo V6. Like, that just sounds like a riot. I am very much so looking forward to this.
It's a delightful little engine in the Infiniti vehicles too, so it'll be even better in a Nissan product that's ostensibly even sportier. On sale date should be next spring for the 2023 Z. No pricing just yet, but Nissan folks did tell me they're probably shooting for around $40,000 with that. So not an unreasonable sum in a world where the average new vehicle transaction price in the US is like 41 grand, according to some sources. So 40 big ones for this is totally reasonable, even if it is a lot.
Yeah, here we go, Craig. Before we jump into something else, new Nissan Z or the Toyota Supra? Which one?
Z.
Z?
Like the Supra I don't know.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Doesn't do it for me.
No. I don't know. The Supra it still appeals to me in some way. I like the car in person more than in video and photos. But I think the Z could give that a real run for its money if the car drives pretty well. We'll see how engineers did with updating a very old platform. But on paper, right now, it looks like it could knock a Supra out of the park. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, totally. Question for you, Sean, as an enthusiast of Japanese sports cars, how much does it matter that the Supra is like mostly BMW? At least with the Z here, it's going to be all Nissan all the time.
That's an awesome question. And I think it matters a ton. I think what is holding the Supra back is, and don't get me wrong, like, I think it's great that Toyota is selling sports cars, but I also look at it as the GR86 is a Subaru, the Supra is a BMW. There's really no major hardware that's coming from Toyota. And I'm not like, they worked together to make both of those cars, whether it be Subaru or BMW. But the thing that I think makes good sports cars special is that it's just something, it's in-house, it's wholly from somebody. Like, I don't know, it's hard to put your finger on it, but I think the fact that there's BMW engines under the Supra, it's a Z4 chassis code, it's like you're driving a gussied up BMW Z4. It's a little disappointing, and I don't think it's been shunned, but I don't think it will ever touch the original Supras in terms of authenticity and being something truly special. So that's what I have to say about that.
That is the key word. That's what matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of authenticity, something that authentically kind of sucks is the fact that we probably won't be seeing many V8s from Mercedes-Benz for next year. This is a really wild story because, foremost, Mercedes-Benz didn't want to really confirm this, and they declined to comment further. Really, all they offered was they're focused on rectifying issues, whether they are supply chain issues, emission standards issues. We don't know, but according to a leaked document that ended up on Reddit, and then was further verified, Mercedes-Benz dealers received a notice from the Mercedes mothership, basically saying, like, no V8s for 2022. It's not happening. So anyone who ordered a 2022 model, they're going to have to find a 21 model, or they're going to have to reconfigure their 22, whatever it may be, that originally had a V8.
This is such a random problem to have because the components that you use in a V8 engine are not drastically different than what you would use in like a turbocharged inline six. You've got pistons, you've got rings, you've got a direct fuel injection system, you've got camshaft phasers. What is the problem? Why is it just affecting the V8 engines? That doesn't make sense. Doesn't add up to me. Something's fishy. Because if they if they did it for like fuel economy, then they would just say that, like, we're not offering V8s anymore. But like a one model year problem, what the hell?
Yeah, it's really, really strange. And two occasions they declined to comment further. And that's the end of the road when it's you're not getting a better answer, at least not now, not yet. But yeah, that's why it leads me to believe is there something up with emissions testing? Did they? And I'm not implying that they're pulling a Volkswagen and cheating or anything like that, but perhaps there was an issue with they thought they'd be meeting testing requirements and they didn't, something like that. Or is it just the semiconductor chip shortage that's hitting everyone super hard, and they could be prioritizing volume models versus more niche products? Like, we're talking no 2022 G-Class. That's a moneymaker. We won't see an AMG GT, the two-door sports car. All sorts of AMG models, from the C-Class, E-Class, anything, the AMG S models. This I think, could affect 17 vehicles. And that's a huge gap to leave open in your portfolio when you have BMW and Audi playing for the same customers with similarly performing vehicles. I just think it's really wild.
It's crazy because, like, if it's a chip shortage, that would affect other engine formats as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, so that, to your point earlier, is something nefarious going on. Again, we don't know, but some emissions issue maybe. Who knows? They won't comment at this point. It does, though. It sounds like maybe two models will still be available with a V8, the S-Class and the Maybach version of the S-Class. Why those would not be affected, I have no idea, but it's just bizarre.
It is truly bizarre. We took some time to try and see if we could straighten this story out a little bit more this week, and that was the best we could get. Was they apologized to customers who are going to be affected by this, and said that they're going to work with customers and dealers to try and put, again, people who ordered a V8 powered vehicle for next year into something comparable, or I don't know, perhaps they'll try and slip them into a 2021 model if there's, production allocation left for a specific vehicle. But Typically these V8 powered cars are not more, they don't do as much volume as, like a C
Yeah,
class with the turbo 4 or something like that.
totally, totally. And another thing, they might do a truncated 2022 model year. They could start selling 2023s in, just thinking out loud, in April if they
Mhm.
wanted or something. Just
Mhm.
jump ahead to the next model year to kind of, because that would, if they got the problem sorted out early enough, they could conceivably do that and then still offer
Yeah.
their V8s in a reasonable time
Yeah.
frame. But we shall see. But moving right along, why don't y'all take a moment to like this video, and while you're at it, subscribe to the Roadshow News YouTube channel. It only takes a second, and get this, it's totally free. It's not going to cost you a penny. You don't even have to input your credit card number or send us a money order for thousands of dollars, though you can do that if you want. We will not turn those donations away. So thank you very much. Like and subscribe for more great content like this. But anyway, Lincoln Navigator, Sean, this is a brand we have talked about a lot on this show. And it's a brand you and I both have some respect for. And we've got a new Navigator here that's coming out. They just refreshed it after about 4 years on the market. And some nice changes. Obviously not a ground up redesign for this big SUV, but I like what they're doing with it. Updated front end there, new grille. They've added adaptive headlights, also a new tail light design, new bumpers, front end, rear. It's a nice little update. What are your thoughts?
I think it's still a super handsome SUV. It was a handsome SUV, though. I prefer the Aviator's looks personally, but obviously you can't touch the exquisite nature of the Navigator in an Aviator overall. But yeah, it's a really nice little refresh. It stays in that lane where luxury car buyers don't want anything too wild looking. This is just it's enough for that when those buyers come to the dealership and they're like, what's the difference between the 22 and the 21 models? And Lincoln can be like, oh, well, look, this one's a little bit updated. It looks, fresher. So there's just that eye perception of, oh, this looks newer. And I think that was the total goal of this Navigator refresh, was just make it look a little bit newer and pack it with even more crap to fiddle around with.
Absolutely, right? I mean, after 4 years on the market, it's time to do an update. And the truth of the matter is they didn't have to do a lot because the vehicle still very good. I would love a Navigator if I had to have a 3-row luxury SUV like that. So what they did, again, some minor styling changes on the outside. They're offering 2 new Black Label themes. Black Label, again, is the sort of top tier ultra premium trim level that Lincoln offers on its vehicles, and they're sort of theme based. So you pick one, and it's unique colors and different materials and stuff like that. And the 2 new ones that they're offering for the upcoming model years, one is called Central Park, which gets you a whole bunch of walnut wood trim inside, and then the other one is called Invitation, which has kaya wood accents, which should be a redder color than the walnut. So both of those should be super nice. Beyond just an improved interior, Black Label gets you other stuff too. You get free car washes, a free annual detailing, and they can help you make restaurant reservations and stuff like that. A lot of great benefits. Of course, you pay for those because it ain't cheap, but you do get a lot of benefits beyond just the vehicle itself if you do grab a Black Label model. Other improvements inside, a 13.2-inch infotainment screen, a lot bigger than the one that is in the current Navigator, so that's nice. It should be, I would think, the same screen that you can get in the updated Nautilus. Very big screen. And it should also support over-the-air updates. So that's a good thing as well.
Fancy.
Yeah.
Very.
Just
No,
pretty
it's
common
a
stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Go ahead, sorry.
this is what. No, I was just gonna say this is a typical refresh. Like I think in terms of what you're supposed to do to keep a new vehicle fresh, they nailed it. Like it looks a little bit better. It looks fresh, more modern. The technology is even better. I mean, what more do you want? But speaking of different colors in the interior of your car, I think Lincoln is the king, queen, whatever you want to say of doing that, because they were one of the first that, like, here, you want a blue interior again? Like, there you go. Like, you want
Yep.
like a Merlot looking red interior with wood accents. Okay. And I don't know if this is like a hot take per se. Like, I'm not trying to pin it as one, but I wonder if that kind of stuff is going to become more popular just because of like the Radwood scene and stuff like that, where people are even looking at, late 80s, early 90s luxury cars with like crushed velvet, blue, red, tan seats with fake wood and stuff. And people like that stuff. It makes them nostalgic and they probably remember it from their childhoods and stuff like that. So I'm just curious if more of that's going to become a thing, or if we'll keep seeing this modern, simplistic Tesla style, kind of design. But anyway, please tell us more about the Navigator, Craig.
I hope that 80s stuff. I hope that 80s stuff doesn't come back, because crushed velvet, button tufting,
Oh, yeah.
fake wood.
No, I'm not saying
everywhere.
I want crushed velvet back. I don't want that. I just mean like
Okay.
the colors and maybe the aesthetic of it. Not
Gotcha.
crushed velvet. No.
Well, we see Genesis taking this idea even further, because you look at the GV70, for instance. You can get that interior in blue, a bright red. There's green. These are all in addition to like your beige and black colors as well.
Isn't there purple too?
There might be. I know it's blue, red, and green, but there might be a purple as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, Lincoln kind of maybe started that. Maybe they inspired Genesis, and Genesis is running with it even farther. So interesting times. Beyond infotainment screen in the new Navigator, though, you do get improved front seat massage. So that's a good thing. Gotta love a massage when you're on a road trip. Also, you get standard second row heating and ventilation, plus optional massaging functionality for the second row seats. How cool is that? But perhaps one of the biggest features is the addition of Lincoln's, let's just say, curiously named hands-free driving system. This is the Lincoln version of Ford Blue Cruise, which they are calling Active Glide. Active Glide, yeah, that's the name. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Sean, if you have anything to add, feel free to jump in. Otherwise, I'm going to talk about the engine.
I'll just say, it sounds curiously similar to something else, something Glide. Maybe you all can infer it at home. We won't say it, or we'll keep you guessing. And that's that. Tell us about the engine, Craig.
Yes, you get a 3.5 liter EcoBoost twin turbocharged V6, as you have for the last few years in this vehicle, actually in the previous generation too. Curiously, though, it has 10 fewer horsepower than before. Not sure why Lincoln did that. Either it was for emissions or longevity or improved fuel economy, most likely. Who knows? But now it has just 440 horsepower with 510 pounds of torque. Should also be bolted to a 10-speed automatic transmission. Availability for the updated Navigator is expected to be early next year. So be on the lookout for that giant Navigator, and honestly, it will be hard to miss.
Yeah, like literally, you won't be able to miss it because it's giant, like he just said.
It's huge.
Yes, huge. All right, if we played the Z Super question just really quick, and I think I know Craig's answer, but Navigator or Escalade?
Oh, that's a tough one. If it were a year or so ago, Navigator hands down. But now that the Escalade has been redesigned with that sort of wall-to-wall screen on the dashboard, it's not quite wall-to-wall, but the big 3-screen display array, they've really stepped up their game. So between the two, I don't know, honestly. I like them both.
I think here's what I would love in a perfect world. The Navigator's interior and the exterior design of the Escalade. That's what I would want. But since that's not possible, I would pick the Escalade just because the interior is still very good. And I just happen to like the exterior design of the Escalade a bit better. I really like the vertical tail lights in the back. I always have, compared to the full width of the that the Navigator does. But yes, I'd probably lean towards Escalade myself.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes,
I mean, you can't go wrong with either one. So
Oh no, not at all. But honestly, if you can afford one of them, you could probably buy both and be fine or something like that. So
That's true.
neither Craig nor I can buy both. So and we can't buy one of them either. So like we said,
Well,
if
if
you
we
want to send
pooled
us
our resources,
donations,
yeah, right. If we pooled our money, maybe we could buy a used one together.
yeah, there you go.
That
Yeah,
could
we
be a
can get like a
communal.
rusted out '05 Escalade or Navigator or something like that that has a through a rod or something like that. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
we have a new concept car coming from Porsche, and we don't know too much about it, but our producer here will show you its headlight because that's all Porsche decided to show us. This is a new electric concept coming to the, what do you want to call this now? It was the Frankfurt Auto Show. Now it's called IAA, and it's taking place in Munich, Germany. So we'll just say IAA show coming up. But they were very at a lack of words for what to expect from this. They did mention when talking about this teaser image on Instagram, saying that motorsport is always the toughest breeding ground for new engineering and technologies. So perhaps this could be some sort of technology from a motorsport program trickling down into an EV concept. Who knows, because it's wide open, but there seems
All
to
they
be an
showed us is a
early.
friggin' headlight.
Yeah, but you know what? In terms of the headlight, it kind of has that, what do you want to call it? The runny egg look from like the 2000s Porsches with that had the turn
Uh-huh.
signal on the bottom. I don't know
Uh-huh.
if they did that on purpose, but I kind of saw that there. Anyway, there seems to be like a rumored consensus that this might be an early concept for a 718 sports car, Boxster or Cayman, because Porsche's been pretty open about the fact that they want to see that car go electric.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems logical, but also I really don't think they would put this headlight on a new 718 unless that becomes like the new brand fascia kind of thing. I don't know. It just would
Mm-hmm.
feel a bit out of place, I think, if a new 718 down the line had like Taycan looking headlights. I don't know. That's just me. I don't know about you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they showed us part of a headlight. It's impossible to tell what this thing might be. Um, so any speculation at this point is valid speculation. Um, but yeah, I don't know how they would do an all-electric Boxster or Cayman though. That gives me pause because those cars aren't that big, and in a
Mm-hmm.
sports car, you want them to be light, and batteries are
Mm-hmm.
heavy. And to get any decent
Yes.
range, you need a lot of them. So
Yeah.
unless the car is going to have 50 miles of driving range, I don't know how you do an electric car like that.
Yeah. If you're watching, and if you notice, whenever there's, like a Rimac or something, if there's a super high performance electric vehicle, do you notice it always has like an absurd amount of horsepower? That's to partially offset the fact that they weigh like 5,000 pounds because of the batteries on board. So yeah,
Yeah.
to Craig's point, if you want to do like a Boxster or a Cayman, uh, I don't know. I don't know what you would do to cut weight back on that, unless, like you said, it's got like a 100-mile range, and then you have to worry about people who want to track those cars, autocross and stuff like that. If the battery can hold up to that sort of pounding, beating, whatever, and I'm sure the engineers would do tests for that because they're engineers.
Oh,
But yeah, very curious teaser for this concept, and we'll have to wait and see because we don't know. It could be an SUV, but they mentioned motorsport, and that would seem kind of strange to me.
yeah. But we shouldn't have to wait too long since IAA is early next month, so a week or so away, week or two away, and we should have all the answers.
Yep, totally. But there was so much that happened this week, and we only had time to hit these few stories. So if you're craving more, seriously, there was a ton of good stuff that happened this week. Like we had the Genesis GV60. There's a new Ford Explorer ST with rear-wheel drive. Tesla AI Day happened. You can look on the Roadshow News channel. We have some highlights of that, or you can watch the whole stream in its entirety. We have all of that there for you. I mean, there is a ton of good stuff that happened this week, and we just didn't have time for it. So check out theroadshow.com for more, or peruse around our channel, and you'll see some other good stuff there, Craig.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you got the free time, do that. But speaking of time, we're just about out of it this week. So, Sean, I thank you again for your expertise and your help.
Yep, you know it. Always a pleasure to be here, chat with you. Guys, if you're watching live, chat with us. We want to hear from you live. We love talking to you guys. And if you're shy, leave us a comment, and maybe Craig and I will see it this weekend and strike up a conversation with you.
Maybe. And big thank you to video producer Brad for helping us make the show live this week. Evan is off. I'm not sure what he is doing. Vacationing, perhaps, parole violation. I'm not sure. But he should be back around next week in the event, any event, though. Thank you, Brad. And of course, thank you all for watching Roadshow News Recap, where we dissect and discuss the biggest automotive stories from the past week. And of course, as Sean had mentioned, you can join us for the live broadcast every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Roadshow News YouTube channel, and of course on Facebook as well. But with that, thank you again, and have a great weekend.